Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 24th of May 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Friday's afternoon session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, just check out a few charts, the usual stuff, just to see how everything's going along. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so now then, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is the WTI oil. Now, looking at this one, of course, yesterday, as you can see, the this little range finally got broken, and this key important area of support near the 60.35 zone was broken, and the commodity kind of rushed to the downside, managed to also overcome this other key important area of support near the 58.20, and then got held around the 57.30, from which it rebounded, and today we can see that it continues to push higher. It's trying to recover some of the yesterday's lost ground. Of course, right now you can see that the commodity is testing its pivot point from underneath. The big question here is, will it actually be able to push further up here? Even if it does, as long as it's going to trade below this 60.35 level, we're going to remain somewhat bearish here on this one, because in a way we could see something like this happening, and then, well, which could lead to another leg of selling. But of course, for now, all eyes are on today's pivot, which is around the 59 area, approximately there, maybe just a few points lower, but around there. Keep your eyes on this one. If it struggles to overcome then this area, the 59 zone, then we may see the reversal kind of earlier. So and instead of like having this little bigger curve here to the upside. Now, again, for those who are probably more on the cautious side, what you could do is probably wait until, let's say, this curves up and starts dropping lower, and if we see a break below the 57.30 zone, this would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and we could then target the area around the 55 mark. And just to show you what that level was here in the past, that was a very good area of support here back on the 25th of February, and also it didn't allow the commodity to close even a 4-hour candle below this one, below that level on the 8th of March. So for now, of course, even this is retracing slightly to the upside, but it does have some obstacles here on top. First one being, of course, this pivot point, which is around the 59 zone. If it struggles, then yep, we could see a reversal earlier, or it could travel further up here, a little bit higher, maybe even actually going all the way here back towards this 60.35 zone. But if it fails to push above this, then this is, like I said, this could lead to another leg of selling. Now, if we do see a nice good break and a close of this one, especially probably a close of the 4-hour candle above the 60.35, then of course this could increase the chances for WTI to push further up here again towards these recent levels that it tested in the beginning of this week, and eventually maybe reaching actually the highest point of this week, which was around the 63.65 zone, approximately there. So could be a nice good potential target, maybe even just slightly above that, around the 63.75. But again, this is a bit of a long shot here. Probably it's not going to happen this week already, so something for next week. But then again, like I said, we'll only consider the upside again if we see a push back above the 60.35 level level here. For now, this is looking still more bearish than bullish, but let's see at which point actually it will reverse. The first one, like I said, as I've mentioned before, the first one that we're keeping a close eye on is, of course, this 59 zone. We'll see if it actually struggles to push above it, then we may see this reversal earlier to the downside. Jumping into a few pairs now, AUDUSD. Now this one is a very interesting one, so they have a nice push here today, and managed to break this downside resistance line. Now this is what I talked about this morning, and basically what I was saying is to keep a close eye on this downside resistance line. If we do see a nice good push above it, then yep, that's great news for the bulls. For now, we are seeing this nice good move higher here. The big question, where is this candle going to close? We still have about 40 minutes to run for this candle. If it closes below, then I mean this is bad news for it's bad news for the bulls here. We may see this one sliding back down, but the only thing is that in order for us, let's say, to now consider the downside again, or let's say deeper extensions to the downside, we would like to see a drop below the 0.6862 zone approximately here. This way the pair would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and we could then target areas like the 0.6830 or even lower. For now, of course, the downside, it is slightly off the table, like I said, given the current situation. If it remains here trading above this area, above this downside resistance line and above this 0.69 level, then yep, this increases the chances for a further move higher. Initially, of course, we will aim the 0.6938, 37 approximately there. But if that fails to withhold, then yep, it could continue traveling higher, maybe even actually going all the way here towards the 200 EMA. But again, for now, before we can consider the upside, we need to see that nice good at least a close of the 4-hour candle above this territory, above this downside resistance line. GBPUSD. Very quickly on this one. So initially we did have a nice push this morning. Of course, that this push came during the Theresa May's announcement that she's going to be stepping down on the 7th of June. So we did have a nice push higher, but kind of failed to reach the today's R2, which was around the 1.2730 zone, approximately there, around there. And then it reversed back down and traveled back below this 1.2685 area, which previously acted, of course, as a nice barrier, a nice resistance barrier. But now it's going to be very interesting to see where this 4-hour candle is going to close, because what's interesting here is that looking at the daily chart, now this is quite exciting, could be quite exciting for the bulls if the pair will close today. Let's say to close this daily candle in the positive territory. I mean, this could potentially mean that next week there could be a chance we could see some more correction. But then again, for now, guys, let's not over speculate too much, because this is the pound. It may in a way sell off in the later on in the day, and it could travel further down towards the 1.2617-15 zone. But we need to see a nice good break below this first before we could consider further declines. So for now, it's a bit of a risky one, or should I say even very risky. That's why, guys, for now, be very careful. Like I said, we are quite oversold here on the shorter time frames, but then again, probably we were oversold here as well around the mid-May as well. So that's why, for now, just continue observing this one, guys. If it stays above the 1.2685, it has got a chance to potentially maybe retrace to the upside again, but maybe this could be something for next week. So that's why, for now, just continue observing this one. Keep an eye on some of these levels, but we will consider the downside further declines only if we see a drop below the 1.2617 level. So keep your eyes on this one. NZDCAD, very quickly. Also NZD basically is the best performer today, and you can see that, and it's breaking now this downside resistance line taken from the high of the 25th of March. Now, of Of course, all this is creating this nice atmosphere here for the bulls. To be honest, this could continue pushing further up here towards the 0.8830. That's going to be our first little target, just slightly above the 100 EMA. But if the rate acceleration continues, now this is where we're going to be targeting here. We are going to be aiming for this area around the 0.8870, which is almost not far from the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. Now, if that said, still we still have the whole US session to go through. Be very careful just in case this suddenly reverses back down, drops below this downside resistance line. If so, then of course we may see maybe a little bit of a slide here to the downside. The only thing is that for us now to consider further declines, we would like to see a drop below these lows here that we saw this week, near the 0.8687. This way we could then aim for further declines. Of course, the pair would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and we could then aim for areas like, let me just go back into history here a little bit. And then we could aim for areas like this, for example, this little high that we had around the 19th of October, and that was approximately around around the 0.8593 level, approximately there. So good potential target. 0.8660. Now I'm sorry, I got it a little bit wrong. So the 0.8660 approximately there. This could be that our little target if we see a break below the 0.8685. I do understand that it's a bit of a only about 20 pips away here, but of course further declines could lead towards slightly lower areas, and one of which could be this one, this little area low, this little low here near the 0.8562. So again, but the downside is slightly off the table right now, guys, and we are going to be keeping a close eye on this downside resistance line and the way the daily candle is going to close today. This is a 4-hour chart, by the way, so for now it seems that it wants to travel higher. Our target for now, the first target that we're keeping a close eye on, is around the 0.8830, and then we'll just take it from there, see if it actually wants to continue pushing further. But in a way, if it stays here today, then there could be a good chance of seeing further moves higher next week. Similar story with NZDUSD, so also pushing to the upside. It's breaking this downside resistance line and breaking now above the 0.6545 level. Now, of course, for now, be very careful with this. Still, we need to see a nice, good, clear close of at least of a 4-hour candle above this. If it does, then yep, we will aim for the 0.6582 or even this 200 EMA. That's of course if in this situation, if we see a nice good close above the 0.6545. In case this suddenly reverses back down, but let's say stays above this downside resistance line, still this is going to be our little neutral territory. We're just going to continue observing the price action, and then hoping we see another push above the 0.6545 level. So in a way, to sum up everything here, we still need to see a nice good close above this 0.6545 before we could consider higher levels. In terms of the downside, the 0.6480 level, that's what we're looking for in terms of the downside. And then if we see a drop below this, then yep, we could consider further declines. Excuse me. USDJPY very quickly here, so it's getting hit this week. You can see that it managed to break this tentative upside support line that I was talking about. It traveled below this 110 zone, also what I've mentioned here, guys. So I've looked at this one in one of my previous videos recently. So I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this 110 zone. If we see a nice good close of the 4-hour candle, we may see further declines. Now I can see that the pair is traveling lower. Now it found a small little support area around here near the 109.4647 area. So this is going to be our little level that we're going to be keeping a close eye on, because if we see a drop below this 109.47, and if we see a nice good close of the 4-hour candle below this, then yep, we may as well consider a possible move towards these lows that we saw here around mid-May, near the 109.10 or even the same 109 level. So for now, keep a close eye on this area right here. Let me just quickly put the highlighted here, just for our future reference. And if we see this one breaking and closing below this level, the 109.47, then yep, that's great. We could consider the 109 zone. In terms of the upside, well, I mean, ideally, of course, still this level for us remains the 110.67, 69, around here, 67, 68. The only thing is, I do accept the fact that it's quite a big of a distance here. So in a way, what we could do here, we'll first remove this upside support line. We no longer need it, and where we could consider a possible move higher, from where ideally probably a push back above the psychological 110 level. This could potentially open the path back towards these recent highs, this week's highs, but again, like I said, for those who are very cautious here, then yep, in a way you could wait for a push above the 110.67, 68 before considering further moves higher, because this way the pair would also travel above its 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart, and yep, we could confirm a forthcoming higher high. So that's why for those who are more on the riskier side, yes, we could push above the 110 level and we could continue pushing there, but again, there is also a chance here to to reverse at some point and drop lower. So that's why we're going to be very cautious around here. If we see a push above the 110, yep, that's great. We will consider slightly higher areas, but we'll be very, very, very careful. In terms of the downside here, the 110.45, that's what we need in order to kind of consider further declines here, at least towards the 109 zone. Okay, guys. I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching it till the end. And if you want to join me on Monday morning, as always, that's 6 o'clock GMT time. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful evening, guys. Be very careful if you're still trading, and I'll see you next week. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.